You just got nice
Yo,
little snare drums going there, kind of
yeah,
gets
I
the
had
fire
the
going.
had the drums going, dude. This Kirk Herbstreit commercial on ESPN, like I have it pulled up on the side because I'm watching the baseball highlights. There's a Kirk Herbstreit commercial that keeps popping up like every couple of minutes. That's just scaring the absolute shit out of me because
Yeah.
I'm like, where did this come from?
How we doing tonight?
Doing good.
What's going on, fellas? Happy Wednesday.
Happy
Big weekend
Wednesday.
last weekend. Doc, we got to talk right off the bat. You didn't make the trip, right?
I didn't, man. I didn't, and let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, I'm sick now. I am 100% sick because I thought about it again Friday. I was like, am I sure I don't want to make the drive? I'm like, I've still got time. I can buy a ticket. It's no big deal. Yeah, no, I didn't go.
It could have been the slump buster, man.
It could have been like this. Could have been. I mean,
that would have been the game. That would have been the game you wanted to be at. And I think we talked about that. Like if we guaranteed you a win, a blowout, would you go? It was right there, Doc. It was right there.
It was in the grasp. It was just right there, and I passed on it. But there were so many other good games on this weekend that I was like, or last weekend that I was like, I don't want to miss. I mean, I should have just went because honestly, like, the afternoon slate we'll talk about was a little snoozy, but I mean, man, I should have went. I still can't believe it was 49-0. I can't believe it. Man. Like, it made absolutely no sense. Like, how does OU not have a quarterback that can throw the ball? Like, that was the most damning thing of the whole game to me, in my opinion. It wasn't Texas's ability to score or the defense, because they were moving the ball with their little wildcat for the first couple quarters, but it's like their inability to pass the ball, I think, in my opinion, that was the real deciding factor of the game.
Man, Venable's getting himself a little warm seat already. Couple games in.
Yo, those message boards.
He's got to get time. I mean, he's trying to redo everything down there, but I mean, I can't think of a team that has fallen as quickly as Oklahoma. I mean, maybe they'll rebound and they'll get it together and, look a little bit better moving forward. But that was as bad as it gets for them. I mean, literally, that's as bad as it could get for them. Almost rock bottom. Now, to actually hit rock bottom, you got to do it for a long period of time, not just one bad game and move on. But, man, that was a coming out party for Texas, too. That's what I'm more curious about. Can Texas actually ride this momentum a little bit and actually build on this and actually stay atop the Big 12 and not come back down to earth and lose a game they're not supposed to?
There's so many people that are just, this is it's time, it's time to take that next step, which I 100% agree. The numbers that Ewers has put up when he's been on the field and healthy is insane. Like, actually, I saw when he's on the field, they have the third best offense in the entire country right now. Like, stats wise, points per drive, yards, all of it. But, we didn't have him for a couple weeks. So, it was amazing. He looked great. I was shocked. Man, it was a great game in my opinion. I was smiling from ear to ear, to be honest with you.
Man,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the things about it, though, the stats behind that loss, the history behind that loss is what really just, stood out the most, because that's the largest loss since 97. That's the first time they've lost 3 games in a row since 98. That's the first time they've been shut out since the AP poll even existed. I mean,
it's their worst shutout ever, right?
Yeah, no, 100% worst shutout ever. It's the first time they've, haven't scored a point since 98. It's just the stats.
And it's Oklahoma's one of those teams, kind of like Ohio State, where they don't know what being bad is like. The history of last 80 years, I think they've had 4 losing seasons, something insane like that. So that they don't know what this feels like. So I'm sure as a Texas fan, that's a great feeling, knowing that they're getting to experience this misery.
Yeah, knowing that we did that just really kind of makes me feel a whole lot better, to be honest with you.
Nelly, how was your weekend? You went down to Georgia, right?
Yeah, that's what talking about the Texas game, like that opening lineup. So half through first quarter of all those games, we went down to the dog walk. Got to get pretty close to the field. It was pretty cool. see some of the players and coaches. And every time they're flashing the score up, I kept seeing that Texas score. And I was like, my goodness, what's going on over there? And, obviously I watched the highlights after we left the game, but game was really cool. It was always a good experience. Athens is a great college town, great place to tailgate. And then there's so many good places to tailgate, but I think a good sign is we're there in Athens. We bring a smoker with us to plug into the truck. We've got the F-150 with the power, and that doesn't work. So I literally just go next door over, and they see that we're having problems. They bring their generator over, let us use it, fire it up, smoke some wings, smoke some beans. It was just a good time. They were giving us beer, we were giving them wings. It's just a good time. It's nice the SEC tailgating at its best.
Yeah, it just means more. Well, right. I for me, it was survival for Alabama. That was a bit of a. The big takeaway for me was that Milrose got some work to do, protecting the football. Obviously, it limits Alabama's offense a little bit more. I mean, at one point, I was hoping they just line up and run some RPO, right? Some zone reads, just make that the offense. Don't try to do more than you need to. I mean, against A&M, like you literally you get to 30 points and the game's pretty much locked up. But it's just the odd thing this year, like all the stats are great. Defense has been great. Offense has been really good. But there's just these mistakes, like the Texas game, all the penalties, all the miscues. And then this game, the 4 turnovers, the 2 missed field goals. Like it's just in these big spots, you expect them to play a little bit sharper. And they haven't done that this year, but they still have all the talent in the world. Again, you win games, you escape, you move on with your backup quarterback, and Gibbs, when Gibbs was out too, like it was a lot to overcome. Thankfully, it was a bad Texas A&M offense, like we've talked about all year, but they just have to get it right this week. But I think it also sets up this whole perfect opportunity for Nick to be like, listen, everybody's counting us out this week. We're the underdog this week, although they're 7.5 point favorite. We're the underdog this week. We're going up there, all the orange game days there for Tennessee. You get everybody believes in you guys, and it sets up an opportunity here. So it'll be fun to talk about this game later.
I can't wait to talk about that game later. I'm going to pull up our stats from last week. Nelly, whole lot of red.
Oh, man.
3-3. Look at Sir Veza. My goodness.
Dude, he's
just
killing
it.
He
just keeps it rolling.
He does, He doesn't stop. He's just
I'll take the 3-3 week on these picks the way I've been going. So obviously huge miss on the OU game. Tennessee, I mean, they very dominant victory, but I mean they came out and that fumble off the opening kickoff where Tennessee had the ball at the 20 yards. I mean, it took every bit. What little life was there at noon in Baton Rouge on a game day was just sucked out. UCLA, I thought UCLA has been playing sharp. DTR is a different quarterback this year. I think he's just protecting the football.
You're on that one.
And then that NC State game, I mean, I think Florida State should have won outright. NC State got lucky to kind of hang on, but that wasn't that exciting, honestly.
You know what's funny is I honestly had no clue what the final score to the NC State game was until 30 minutes ago. I had no clue they only won by 2 points. I was like, what happened there? I was like, did they end up losing? I was like, they aren't in the top 25. I was like, so what happened?
It's an ugly game.
It's just one of those weeks. Yeah. Utah, I finally, I put them to bed last week, but I still thought they'd win. That was just me being me, thinking UCLA would just, be UCLA of the past. Arkansas, I'm done, man. Jefferson, get out of my face.
I just noticed my Mississippi State pick wasn't.
Oh man, that's right.
So actually, it was 4-2.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
Yes,
there we go.
Yeah, no, you look great there. I mean,
I'll take it.
Jefferson.
Arkansas.
I just hope.
Go ahead.
I just hope they beat LSU. That's all I want. Just let Arkansas beat LSU. Put them out of their misery. Whatever. Of course, Texas. There was never a doubt there. But I told you guys. I hammered it. I should have made it my lock of the week, which we'll talk about in a second. Tennessee, 3.5. I said they were going to kill them, and they did. 10 points down. They scored 10 points in 3 minutes? I mean, I know, the muff kickoff and all that, but Tennessee looks good. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But, the TCU-Kansas game, I tell you what, that was a great game. That was a fantastic game, to be honest with you.
I do love live betting on Saturdays. And I don't know why I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on a live over after like the first quarter, early second quarter. It got down to like, I want to say like 40 or something like that. And it still covered the game total because it exploded. It turned into what we thought it would be, kind of both offenses back and forth. But I give credit to Jason Bean. I mean, he came in and he's got talent, and I thought didn't think they'd drop off that much. He's obviously not quite as good, but the guy made plays last year for a bad Kansas team, and he stepped in and kind of carried him. So I'm curious if you guys think, is this the end of Kansas this year that we'll be talking about, or do you think he can actually kind of keep them in the mix for a little bit longer in the Big 12?
Go ahead, Nelly.
Man, it's tough. If you look at Kansas, their schedule on the back half here, it's every ranked Big 12 team. So it is a murderer's row that they gotta go knocking on. So I mean, that part's tough. Jalen Daniels allegedly, he tweeted out earlier today that, hey, maybe he isn't done for the year. Who knows on that front? Right. I think the Kansas is going to be a 7-8 win team, and I think that's for Kansas. That's, I mean, fantastic. I think they're building something if they can keep Leipold. I feel like he's probably gone, but if he can stick around, they could be a competitive, fun Big 12 team, especially with Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, that was the thing I was going to look at was the rest of their schedule. Oklahoma, Baylor, OK State, Texas Tech, Texas, and they finish it off with Kansas State. It's like that's a very rough back half of the schedule. I'm glad that they got their wins out of the way early. Their quarterback didn't look bad, when he came in. So I don't know. I just think, that's one of those tough losses, and of course the quarterback being injured, that never really helps too much. So, I don't know.
Good effort. Valiant effort.
Absolutely. And game day was electric. Like, I actually watched game day Saturday morning because I was just curious, the turnout and stuff like that. Man, they were rowdy up there in Lawrence.
Pack the booth.
Yeah. Let me see here. What's going on, Jason, Junto, Shane? What's going on, guys? I did want to talk about this. Ohio State. So Ohio State went and did Ohio State things, but I read this stat. So against Michigan State on Saturday, C.J. Stroud went 11 for 11 on passes 10 yards or more downfield, totaling 297 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the most such completions without an incompletion by a Power 5 quarterback in the last 10 seasons. Stroud has wrapped the Heisman up. The Heisman, in my opinion, the Heisman race is over. That's Stroud's now, unless something catastrophic happens. I mean, I read that stat and I was like, "Good Lord!" Like, that's impressive,
Yeah, I think he's going to have him in a big moment. I do think that it's pretty much wrapped up, unless something else crazy happens. He's certainly going to be one of the top 2 vote getters. Yet to really do it big in a big game. The Notre Dame game was pretty pedestrian and what Notre Dame has become. Michigan State was supposed to be coming into the year top 10 matchup potentially, and thankfully State is absolute trash. Penn State looks like to be the Penn State and Michigan. He's going to have 2 really good opportunities front and center to really demonstrate and show out on it. But unfortunately, the Death Star is looking to be almost fully operational. I mean, the offense is really starting to cook.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what's ahead for him. I mean, he hadn't really played much of a defense yet at all so far, right? Wisconsin's much worse. Michigan State's much worse. I mean, Notre Dame was able to kind of keep him in check a little bit. And even Rutgers, I mean, he didn't have to do anything in that game to win, so it didn't really matter. But Penn State game's going to be the one. I mean, maybe Iowa next gives them a little trouble next week, potentially. Just defensively, I doubt it, but it won't matter. The Penn State game's the one, though. If he can go in there in a whiteout, I'm assuming it's a whiteout, I don't know. But
Halloween weekend.
In front of that crowd, right, Halloween weekend. That's one he'll make a statement. But right now, he's just coasting. I think the Heisman odds finally flipped to a minus number for the first time. So he's definitely in the driver's seat, and it helps that Bryce Young's is hurt now, and it helps that USC is probably going to lose at some point this season. So he's in pretty good shape.
And of course, I mean, I didn't want to bring it up too early, but I mean, That guy, that Tennessee quarterback.
Hendon Hooker's still out there.
Hendon Hooker, baby.
My boy.
Look, and I said this all weekend. The Heisman Trust needs a hooker in its life. We need the hooker in NYC. It has to happen at this point. I just want Hooker. They can go lose to Tennessee. I mean, they can lose to Bama. They can lose to Georgia. But I want him to put up video game numbers. I just want to see him in New York at this point. Like, that's right.
I still hold my preseason ticket for Hooker. Got it plus 6,000. So we're going to keep it rolling, baby.
Yeah, I mean, this weekend's it. I mean, if he pulls out a win, he'll definitely be in the conversation. I think if he pulls out a win, he's going to have to be a big part of that victory this weekend. Yeah. It's not going to be them running the football and playing defense. If Bryce is healthy, I guess there's one scenario where it could end up being a sloppy, ugly game and they win. But I think for them to win this game, he's going to have to perform 2 or 3 touchdowns and kind of lead that offense. So we'll see. You got your opportunity, but I'm loving the hype on Hooker from you, Doc. Just keep it coming.
Look, I had it
in their lives.
I had it. I'm not hopping off the bandwagon. I'm not, okay? But hey, I tell you what though, your DTR, like your UCLA hype, people are really starting to notice. And DTR is really
moving up.
He's moving up. Like I'm looking right now, he's at plus 1,800. Is he gonna flip flop Caleb Williams?
Yeah, that's the question. Like you talk about stealing votes, like how will the votes shake out for him? If he goes through, runs the table, and they beat USC, I think he'll earn those votes. But if it's kind of a very similar season, I don't know that he can win out. But he's taking it seriously. Like he's talked. I think he's making comments during game like, "This is my city." Like I think he's kind of taking it to heart this year. But I don't know if anybody's even watching him. That's the problem, right? Like there's not many eyeballs on what he's doing right now.
Oh, Hetty, Ben's got the greatest backdrop of any person I've ever seen when it comes to just just a college room or TV room. I don't even know what he calls it. His battle station, his man cave, it's perfection.
Yeah. Office / my daughter's up here, it turns into a playroom, but originally it was meant to be an office, but it serves dual purposes.
Power station.
I hate that, I didn't really mean to talk about the Heisman, but look, guys, I want to talk about last week's locks. Real quick. I just want to put this statement out. On Wednesday, I did not know that Kentucky's quarterback was a game time decision. I would not have went Kentucky minus 9.5 had I known there was a shot he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, you got a bad number on that too. I think it came down to 6, right? Or something
like that. Yeah, no. I mean, that was a horrible number.
Wednesday's tough, man. Like you can either be in really good shape and get ahead of it, or you can, like we've seen before. I think it was another Friday. What the other situation was a similar one where quarterback didn't play or ended up being hurt that we weren't prepared for. So, and
then of course, which by the way, I still want to point out the fact that South Carolina still sucks. Like Spencer Rattler still looked like trash. Like that was not a good game. It was an ugly game. It was tough. It was just, I think had he been healthy, that probably would have covered. Like they probably would have put the points up, but
feel for Kentucky, man. You talk a heartbreaking loss at Ole Miss, a game they really feel like they should have won. Levis is injured. It's like now the season you're not playing for anything. It's in a week or two ago they're in the top 10, which I don't know if they deserve to be there, but pretty heartbreaking. Auburn, that cover felt great in the first half. While I was in the stands watching, I was almost already counting my money, and good Lord, they woke up in the second half and really pummeled them, which I think Spen brought up a few weeks ago. Second half, under Harsin.
I took Auburn first half in that game, like feeling pretty good with the 17.5. I think I talked about it last week. Like you just never know with that second half squad, and they did it again. And I'm surprised that you didn't get that cover because it did look good for most of that game.
It did. No, it 100% did look good. And
what about y'all got to remind me whenever we get Sir Veza back in here, okay? Because I think he's across the pond tonight. We got to get him to explain this Duke pick because I didn't know why he went with it in the first place. Why you'd roll with Duke on the road again? And Georgia Tech obviously has found new life all of a sudden. That pick I was kind of curious about.
Yeah, no, I wish I had that answer. That was a very interesting game, though. I did watch, bits and pieces of it. Georgia Tech, man, I'm just
got rid of Collins. They're figuring it out now.
They are, and they're not bad to watch. I'm kind of enjoying them. They're not the same old Georgia Tech that we've been used to for the last decades. However long it's been. So,
and don't bury the lead, fellas. Another victory, another W, another lock.
That's right.
And I look, it's gonna one of these weeks, and this week I got one for you, but the last 2 weeks have been pretty easy ones, which is always great. Like, it doesn't happen like that very often. So
yeah,
the last two have been very nice. UAB just jumped on top of Middle Tennessee State and just kept the foot down, rushed like 300 yards. So
it was the kids, man.
Yeah, exactly. Always like a little depth differentiator in those games,
Are you actually betting these yourself as well? Like, are you betting your locks? Okay.
Yeah, the problem is, like, I like to bet a lot of games. So if I would just hone in on, because the games I talked about last week with the Kingdom Conviction, Boise State, I think Auburn first half, and there's one other one maybe, but those all hit. But I sprinkle in a bunch of junk around that. So by the time the Saturday's over, you're kind of around 500. So the bottom line is, like, to be a successful gambler, you have to have a little bit of discipline on what you're betting on, and not just firing shots all the time, which is tough to do when you're on, you're locked in on a Saturday.
Hey, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody actually bet Notre Dame last week when I called it out, but Notre Dame, hey, you know, they got the win. They covered, they covered as well. So that was a good one. I'll tell y'all what I did. So I don't remember. I'd lost the parlay because I don't remember who it was lost. It might have been Utah. Yeah, it was Utah. I live bet Kansas State in the first quarter. I live bet them. I think I threw like 140 at them just because I was like, they should walk in here, and just handle business the rest of this game. Why in the hell did I have to sweat Kansas State money line? Not even points. The Kansas State money line the entire damn game. 10-9. 10-9. And that was an absolute that was a sweat. I was so mad. I was like, why am I sweating this game?
Hurt your boy Adrian Martinez's Heisman odds.
Man, he just whatever.
We've had some stinkers this year, that's for sure. That was one of them.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I don't know. I don't remember what my other one was. I had another one, and I want to say it ended up going well. I don't remember which one it was, but hell, I don't know. That was, this weekend for me, I didn't win money. I lost money. So maybe I should stop betting college football. Stop throwing these parlays together. Just bet one game at a time. Throw like, $30-$40 on a game each week and just kind of go from there.
That's the beauty of college football. Like Spen said, man, it's fun. You can fire off 30 bets. Next thing you know, you got every game rolling.
Yeah, all of a sudden you got action on every game. It's like, well, how to end up here again this weekend? I promised I would not do this again, but here we are.
Yeah, no, for sure. Real quick, guys, I want y'all to know I'm still riding the Tennessee bandwagon. I'm not jumping off. I'm not jumping off, okay? I'm not jumping off. We'll talk about it next week, but just know I'm convinced, okay? I'm convinced. And Bryce Young, look, all I'm saying is I'm convinced right now, okay? That's all I'm saying. So my bandwagon, I'm not jumping off. I'm staying put. Goodbye, Utah. Goodbye, Florida. Goodbye, everybody else. I'm jumping back on the Texas bandwagon, though. Quinn Ewers for Heisman, okay? You know what? He's not going to win it, but I'm just going to say it in my heart, Quinn Ewers for Heisman. I do think we're about to run the table and win the Big 12 and cause chaos. So there's that.
We're back.
Yeah, we're 100% back. We are back.
Let's see. I'll just hop in real quick. I usually go negative on this. I don't know why. I never think like hopping on the big one. I'm always hopping off the bandwagon. I will quickly start positive. James Madison. Is anybody else on the bandwagon yet? I mentioned a few weeks ago.
Man,
they keep winning. Crack the top 25.
in the FBS, first time that they don't even know what it's like to lose at the FBS level.
They haven't, yeah. They've literally never lost to the FBS level. They probably have lost to an FBS team at some point, but not while they were on the FBS level. Two that I'm hopping off of: Oklahoma State, still undefeated. Big one this weekend. It kind of give you a little preview where I'm going there. Yeah. But they've been outgained 3 of their 6 games so far. I just don't think their defense can hold up over the course of the season. So probably going to be this weekend. But even if somehow they get out of this weekend unscathed, that's coming at some point. So I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be in the playoff conversation when those rankings come out in a few weeks. And then the state of Iowa, just jumping right off the bandwagon in Iowa. So we know how bad they've been all year. I'll give you one fun stat, just kind of highlight why you shouldn't be anywhere near their bandwagon. Iowa and Iowa State both have 54 points in 4 conference games. Both. They're very, very similar teams. About 13 points per game in conference. There's 24 teams that average more points than the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones combined this year. You combine both, not just conference, every game, even those crappy teams they played and actually score some points against. You combine both their offenses and their points. 24 teams in the country still have more points than those two combined. So
that's crazy, man. And piggybacking off that, Iowa, they're giving up 10 and some change points a game defensively. This past weekend, they lowered their defensive points per game average by giving up 9 points and lost the game. It is absolutely crazy. It is a crime what Brian Ferentz is doing over there. They're going to tar and feather and run them out of there. Like there's just at a certain point, Kirk's going to either be like him or me, and he's going to have to make a decision. But I mean, that is insane. How bad offensively they are, just inept. To kind of along the lines of you were saying there, Spend TCU. I'm all the way in. I love them. I believe in the balance of the offense. I believe in the skill position talent. The wide receivers, Dugan's a rock star. That is a fantastic team. So I'm all in on them. And then okay, cool, hook 'em. So I'm all over Texas teams right now. The computers love them too. If you look at all the analytics to back it up, top 5 in most of the models. I mean, just really strong, really balanced, a flamethrower of an offense when it's clicking. So really excited to see them continue. I hope they don't break the good doctor's heart. I hope they keep
They're going to. No, they're 100% going to, and I'm just preparing myself for when that's going to be, because it happens every year, man. I mean, we start off, we get that moment where it's like, okay, we're back. And then it just all comes crashing down to earth, and, it hurts. There's one thing, though, I wanted to ask you guys, and I forgot to do it in the nightcap, and I feel really bad about it. So Carolina fires Matt Rule. Matt Rule, everybody wants this coach back in college. Where do you guys see him going? Do you see him going anywhere this offseason? Like, do you see him just collecting a check? Like, what do you guys think on that?
I mean, he's a fantastic college coach and proved to be a really, really bad NFL coach. He might do good to sit a year out and kind of let the dust settle on how shitty of a coach he was at the NFL level. I mean, I could see him at like Nebraska. I don't know if that's an exciting, hire for them. But it is intriguing to see where he goes, because he literally rebuilt 2 programs in Temple and Baylor and elevated them to 10-11 with the season. So he could do it at the college ranks. I think he might sit out a year.
Yeah, I think just from what I've heard, maybe there's a chance that he gets back next year because he's got fired so early. He's got a little more time anyway to kind of settle and figure things out. And there's going to be some good opportunities out there. I mean, Arizona State, Nebraska, probably going to be Auburn. I mean, I think he makes sense, and definitely makes sense in Nebraska, and probably Auburn would be a pretty good fit. And I don't, even if you don't have success in the NFL, I don't think it affects your perception in college, right? Because you're still an NFL coach. Sure, you might not have had success on your one term, but it doesn't really matter. We'll welcome you back and let you coach up our college team. I don't think it's going to hurt. If I'm a Nebraska fan and you get Rule, I think that's a great hire, right? I think you get to be pretty excited. Even if you're Auburn, I think that's a really good hire probably for them. Yeah. So I think he finds, if he wants to coach, I think he can probably have a pretty good opportunity next year. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where he slides in, but it makes sense that he's right back on the college scene.
I'd like to see him holding a clipboard in Austin. next year. Just holding the clipboard. Like, you can be an analyst. Let's go the Saban route.
They're Tuscaloosa, yeah.
Yeah, give me an offensive analyst position, Matt Rule.
Well, hey, no better PR job in the world than being an analyst for Saban, man. I mean, look at Bill O'Brien. People actually want to hire him again.
Yeah.
I don't know what your comments on Bill O'Brien are. Do Alabama fans
take it or leave it? Yeah, take it or leave it. I mean, I think he's okay, but like, I think he doesn't give you the same feel as like a Sark or Kiffin on the sideline, right? Even like Loxley, I think in his 1 year's the OC, I think he was a little more dynamic offensively in his play calling than O'Brien. So, he obviously won the Heisman, so you can't fault him. But probably you guys could have won the Heisman with that offense that Bryce had last year. So calling plays for him. But yeah, I mean, I think O'Brien will end up somewhere. But if he leaves, I don't think anybody's going to be losing sleep over it necessarily. Not that he's a bad coach, but just he's okay. It's fine. Like, he's replaceable, I think.
Have I told you guys how much I hate Bill O'Brien? Have we discussed that?
From like his time at the Texans, or?
Yes. I hate Bill O'Brien with a passion, like a burning, like a disgusting hate for Bill O'Brien because of what he did in the Houston Texans organization. I just want to throw that out there now so that way everybody knows. Yes, I can't stand that man.
I mean, he is talk about PR. Like, it was the funniest the last couple of years that he was there, where he was like firing himself as GM and stepping back into the coaching role. It was like he kept shuffling the chairs around to give himself a couple extra years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there real quick, guys.
And that was talking Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do, is just let you guys know. Anyways.
All right, I'll lead us off here. I got a couple. I think the first one, the one that I think everybody, this wasn't a nightmare because I think a lot of people were on Houston last week, but boy, I think there's a ton of people that woke up, and I know a lot of nights in the Discord were talking about it, that woke up on Friday morning or Saturday morning, were like, wait, that Houston bet actually covered? Hard to believe that your boy Dana, Doc, was able to rally the troops, and they're in a 1-score game, a 1-point game. It seems like every single week.
Every week, yeah.
And they actually found a way to win this one, but that was a remarkable cover. And if you did not have Houston, my condolences. That was a tough one to swallow. But another one that I had, that I was watching, Ole Miss was a game that again I thought Ole Miss would take care of business. They started off slow. Vandy came out playing well. A lot of credit. It was a great live bet hopping on Ole Miss, but the fact that Lane Kiffin ran a play and tried to score a touchdown to go over the number in that fourth quarter, when it was like 15 seconds, he got back to the line inside the 5 or 10, whatever it was, and ran another play when he should have ran the clock out, should have been done with it. I think he had some excuse for it. I forgot what he said exactly, but the fact that they punched one in late to cover against Vanderbilt, if you are an Ole Miss backer, you love it. And look, I have no problem finding the coaches that actually pay attention to that and try to hit that number when the opportunity rises. You probably don't love it if they do something wrong there and fumble. And if you're the opposing team, you probably think it's a bit of a dick move, but as somebody backing him up, you probably enjoy it. But I couldn't believe Lane was tacking it on late there.
Oh man, Lane knows it too. He's one of those guys that he's got the Action Network app like we do, and keeping an eye on it there. Man, talk about nightmare covers. So let me talk about my worst gambling Saturday that I've ever had in my life. I mean, yikes. Worst ever, and really a part of it was, I like to fire probably 15-ish bets off on a Saturday, sometimes more if I'm feeling frisky. Being at a game is tough. It wasn't having great cell coverage and wasn't able to chase the rest of the day. So just from the opening slate, I went 0-9-1, which is statistically almost impossible. I don't even know how I could be that wrong on so many different things. So, as you saw from my game picks, also this past week, just a very forgettable Saturday. So we're gonna set up shop. We're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna hit the reset button. But brutal Saturday.
Did you take UAB at least? Did you ride the Blazers?
I did take them. We had a little bit of a bounce back, but it's just, oh man, brutal day.
Good. You'll get back on the horse. Just don't let Vegas defeat you.
That's right. I'd say
we ride again.
Yeah, that's right. You only lose when you actually quit. So you gotta keep it moving.
Vegas whips my ass every weekend, and then I just throw everything I got left on one game, and I just get lucky. It's just one of those things. Like Sunday, I did a bunch of same game parlays, and then when the Chargers caught that pick, I live bet them in the fourth quarter right before they caught that pick. I got them at plus money, and so I made back all that money from that day. It's like I've been getting so lucky on those last ditch efforts to get my money back because my regular bets have just been so piss poor. But hey. So that's why I just bet money line, guys. Like even if my odds aren't great, like I'm just gonna start betting money line everything. Because these spreads, I'm just not a spread professional. I don't have it in me, Like, and you'll be able to tell with my record here in a little bit. I'm not a spread guy. So that's all I got to say there. All right, we're back. Hey, there's starting to be a little bit of moving and shaking in the poll.
That's right.
Nelly,
movement Saturday.
It is Nelly. What happened here? Why did they put Clemson ahead of Michigan, man?
I think it was one of those. The last few weeks, they probably should have already done that, and they basically like, oops, our bad. Clemson has two wins that are better than any that Michigan has. So, I think depending on how you want to view it, at this point, it doesn't really matter. Michigan gets a chance for a statement win this weekend against Penn State, but I don't think there's any gruff flipping them ahead. I think probably based on their resume so far, they should be ahead of us. But big weekend for seeing a lot of movement. 6 ranked matchups, a lot of opportunity for statements or to kind of. You're probably looking at 5 to 7 new ranked teams. It's a lot of shuffling at the back end this week and could be some interesting movement in the top 10.
I don't think I realized that Illinois was ranked until I just saw this graphic. I don't pay attention
First time in 11 years
that much week to week, but I can't believe they're ranked. I still think Mississippi State's is underrated. I think they continue to play tough. Again, I think they'll find a way to lose a game they shouldn't at some point. They'll just come out, probably because they're coaching, right? They'll just come out flat, like they're just not focused. Their mind's all over the place, and they find a way to lose one. But I still think they're a really, really good team. And I think they're still a little bit low. I got to put them above NC State, Wake Forest, probably Oregon as well. So we'll see. Ooh. And TCU still, I think TCU continues to be underrated too. And I think this weekend we'll see them crop into the top 10. That's my belief.
Ooh, there we go.
Saturday, as soon as the Texas
game, I love it. I don't. You're still on mute, Doc. I don't know that. And we're at a point in the season where everybody starts we'll start hearing hey, so what's going to happen here if USC and Penn State and TCU are all undefeated? Who gets in there?
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be like a lot of the conversation. So I think it'll all kind of play itself out, but I love the fact we got a bunch of teams in the mix right now.
Yeah.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah. Yes,
okay. Sir. I told y'all Saturday, I said, put Texas back in the top 25. Sure enough. Look, they couldn't have us. They couldn't have us not in the top 25, guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is right now, but we go in after a loss. We go in after an OU ass kicking. We're back in the top 25. Shout out to James Madison. They've had a program for 6 weeks in D1, and they're already in the top 25. Who they're playing beats the hell out of me, but they're winning, and that's all that matters.
They're in the Sun Belt. The Fun Belt.
The Fun Belt. We need them on.
They beat App State.
App State's one of those teams that it's like they beat a really good team, and then it's
I've been there.
They just have their ups and downs. It's just such a fun. They're a fun team to keep up with. I think Tennessee at 6. It's brilliant they put them at 6 because it just makes the matchup with Bama so much better. And
3-6, that's great.
Yeah, I know Ben's not in here right now, but that's great.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what his thoughts were on. That's a lot of shuffling at the top 3, or really the whole 5. Like all 5 slots changed.
And what's funny though is I really think that it's going to continue to happen. Of course, the Tennessee Bama game this week's huge. You guys playing. We are this weekend.
That's right.
Look, this is a great weekend for college football, and I still hate the fact that you guys are playing the whole Big Noon kickoffs, the goofiest shit in the world.
Man.
TCU 100% should be ranked in the top 10 right now, in my opinion. Ole Miss is frauds. They're frauds, guys. They're not a top team in the country. They're not.
Oh, man.
Like, I promise you they're not. They'll have 3 losses in the next couple weeks. Just watch it happen. So, there's my spoiler alert.
There we go.
Ole Miss is terrible. They're playing good, okay, but I just don't think they're a top 10 team.
UCLA, my Ducks making their way back up, baby.
Hey, look, they're quietly creeping their way back up. I don't know how. I mean, who they beat this weekend? They beat the hell out of somebody. I don't remember who it was now, but I don't know. They're playing well. I'll
UCLA though, man. How about it though, man? They really are starting to click. And it's kind of talking about Mississippi State. And coach, like Leach always kind of making a really stupid decision, like to lose a game they shouldn't. I really feel like Chip Kelly has that in him. Like he's got that dog in him to find a way to lose a game that he has no business losing. So, but I keep challenging him, I keep fading him, and I keep losing. So UCLA, man, maybe they're the real deal.
That might just be, and it might just be one of those times where we look back at the end of the year and it's just like, holy hell, UCLA, they were Himothy this year. So, we'll see. Wake Forest at 14. Hey, I still don't know. Like, I haven't watched enough of them to really just honestly give you a beat on Wake Forest.
Man, what's crazy with them is, if they had found a way to hang on in that Clemson game, they would be 5 or 6 themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're that level of a team. I think 10 to 14 probably feels pretty good for them. They'll have plenty of opportunities to play big games down the stretch, but their offense is electric. So, kind of seeing how well the defense can hold up.
Right. No, I mean, you're not wrong there. One more thing. If you aren't watching Wake, what are you watching? Anything other than Wake, Shane? I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you. Anything other than them. I love the fact that you got schools like Kansas State, Kansas, TCU, which, by the way, TCU looks phenomenal right now. TCU looks like a great. Wagon. I feel like maybe I should have got off the Oklahoma State bandwagon last week and hopped onto the TCU bandwagon. But, I mean, if you look, the Big 12 quietly.
I'm telling you, man, it's a fantastic depth conference. I mean, a lot of really quality teams.
No, 100%. The most fun team to watch in the country resides in Austin, Texas. That's what I'm just going to tell you there, my friend.
There we go.
Illinois creeping into the top 25. I feel like it's been a while since they've been there.
Yeah, it's 11 years. Their defense is elite. Elite. They're really, really good running back in Chase Brown. They're a fun team. They're Brett Bielema team. He just rebuilt his Wisconsin team and picked him up on a moving truck and took him down from Madison to Champaign.
And what's crazy is, and it works. It works, It's just one of those things where it just slides on through.
It's fun. That's Big Ten football, baby. I love it. Great defense, good running game.
Yo, real quick, I don't know what happened to our friend Ben. I'd just like to say, I like to scroll through the timeline when we're talking, just kind of check the pulse of things. And the Texas A&M message boards, like there's a Longhorns account I follow that posts A&M message boards, and they are so bitter because they didn't throw all the money in the world at Quinn Ewers. Like it's unbelievable. Like they're literally
what a hilarious thing.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. It's got me just absolutely rolling. So I just so yeah, there's that. But welcome back, Ben.
You hear us, brother?
Yeah. I thought y'all were on mute, and then I realized that I was talking and y'all weren't hearing anything. So
that happened to me last week.
I don't really know. I don't know how that happened. So maybe it's just one of those things. So
I'm sure I was saying something that probably wasn't worth listening to anyway. So.
You got anything else?
We think about Bama getting shifted down. A lot of shuffling in the top 5 there.
The one thing over the last couple of years, or last couple of years, last decade. I don't really pay much attention to the rankings, my friend, until like it's either you're in or you're out. Like if Alabama does what they need to do, they'll be in, and it doesn't matter if you're in at 1 or 4. Just you get in. So they'll have plenty of chances to move up, and it'll all take care of itself. I mean, I'm more curious they can get in with 1 loss, and that question for a lot of teams right now, right? Because there's a lot of good teams atop there that are in the mix that have a really good chance maybe to make some noise this weekend. And what if Penn State, Tennessee both win this weekend, right? Tennessee's probably not going to go undefeated. Same with Penn State. So how does that all shake out? So we'll see. You got to take it 1 week at a time. But I think Alabama is where they should be right now.
You're honestly, you're spot on there. I do love the fact that they've slid Tennessee up to that 6th spot for this week. Like, I love that for the matchup, just moving forward, them just sliding them on up because, before you know it, Tennessee, like, no matter what happens this weekend, before they play Georgia, they'll go ahead and they'll slide back on up. So, I don't know. I was talking about this a second ago. I know you'd cut out. Do you think Ole Miss is good?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just don't think they can trust their quarterback. That's the problem. They don't have if he had a quarterback that he liked right now, I think they'd be really, really dangerous team because they have a pretty good defense. They have a really good running game.
Yeah.
2-headed monster running back. And I think I don't know. I got to pull up their schedule and take a look at kind of what lies ahead for them. And obviously Alabama still is waiting, and you still have Mississippi State at some point too. So they have a really brutal schedule. But yeah, I mean, I think they are a good team. Like Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M. I think they go through that stretch probably undefeated. Back-to-back road games, LSU and A&M are going to be tough. But I think their defense can do enough. A&M probably not. At that point, A&M might have, who knows, 3 or 4 losses. But then they have Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi State to finish the year. So there's a very good chance we go into that Alabama Ole Miss game. Potentially, that could be that could be like a 1 versus 5 or 1 versus 4 if they keep winning. But I think they're really good. I just don't think they have the quarterback to really threaten to make the playoff.
I'm not gonna lie. I just called them frauds while you were gone. I said they'll have 3 losses before you know it. So I love the fact that we have such differing opinions there.
There we go.
I do feel like Ole Miss stumbles before they get to Bama, though. I do feel like they will end up stumbling.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they do. I just don't think they will. But yeah, I mean, if they had a quarterback, I'd feel pretty confident about them rolling into November. But yeah, without if somebody loads up and just makes Jackson Dart beat them, I think they might have some trouble there. But it's been tough to stop that running game so far.
Yep.
All right, where's my slide? Oh, here it is. Moving on. Boom, 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 boom.
All right, boys. You want me to lead off?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, bring the reins, man.
Yeah.
I got a few I'm looking at. Again, these are bets we like, but we're not going to lock them up for the weekend. We'll have that lock coming up in a little bit. But for me, kind of what I'm looking at, a few different games here. And these are the games I probably will end up playing, but they're still just kind of on the radar at this point. So I'm curious your thoughts on this one, Doc. So Iowa State and Texas. The under 49.5 is what I'm looking at right now.
I looked at that earlier too. Actually.
I hate playing unders. Nobody gets excited about playing unders. But with Texas, again, I still think I don't know if Iowa State's going to score right. We've already kind of documented how bad they are, right? Offensively. So the question is, will this be like a 45-10 game, right? Which it very well could be. Because I think Texas defense is good enough to kind of keep Iowa State in check. I think with Iowa State having the best pass defensive right now in the Big 12, and with having played some pretty good passing offenses, not nothing electric, but
it's a legitimate defense.
They've really kept in check, right? Like especially that Kansas State's another example, but they've done pretty well. So again, I think Ewers is going to be a really good quarterback. But again, I'll say it much like the reasoning for why I went with Oklahoma last week, which turned out to be probably the worst call of the weekend. But I still like I need to see him do it multiple weeks, right? He's still
Right.
he's played Louisiana Monroe and a bad Oklahoma team, still a great performance. And he looked really good in a quarter against Alabama. So let me just see him string it together. He's still a freshman, right? Let's see him get a little bit of let's see him get into a tight game early on and just kind of see how he responds. If maybe he's not in rhythm against a tough pass defense, like is he able to kind of mentally get out of that and just continue on, or does it bring him down and bring him in check? So I look at that, and this game too has been low scoring. Last 7 years hadn't gone over 44 points. Not that really makes a difference, but just kind of the style of this game. So I'm looking at under 49.5. So you guys have any thoughts on that one?
Man, when you say no one likes an under, I love unders, man. It's the grab your lunch pail, put your hard hat on. It's the working man.
Yeah,
the working man blue collar bet is when you take those unders, because you're out there and it's the hard working man. But I love all that backing up. I agree. Iowa State is legitimately a fantastic defense. And like you said earlier, Iowa and Iowa State are basically the same team. Really good defense, horrific offense. I love that. I guess keep an eye on where that points ends up, but I feel like it's a good play.
What do you think, Doc, on that one?
It's tough because Iowa State's defense is pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you at all Iowa State doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell to really put the offense in check. I don't think they score a lot of points, though. So, honestly, if I had to lean here, I would probably lean the under, like 100%, to be honest with you. Okay. I feel like it does have that possibility, though, for some kind of weird, 40-something to 10 to 17, something like that, or like a 35-17. So
is it in Ames?
No, it's at Texas. So.
Yeah, it's all about Texas doing its part defensively. Like that. Right. That to me is like, do I trust their defense enough? And I think I do, but do you trust their defense enough to not give up? 14. And again, with the freshman quarterback, well, good. A couple of mistakes, couple of picks, field position turns, and you don't need a great offense to score in the red zone. So. That's just one that I'm looking at. Another one, so we're gonna do NC State Syracuse a little bit later, but another one I'm looking at the under on. So this one I don't love yet, but a couple of reasons why I was looking at it. So we know NC State, very good defense. Again, kind of the same story. Offense has been, it's let us down throughout.
Not where expected.
And then Devin Leary got hurt. I think his status is up in the air for this one. Now, NC State does have a pretty good backup that came in for a little bit. He's a guy that I think played Charleston Southern, had put up a ton of yards, dual threat guy. But I think they'll lean on, and they do get a running back and they do get a receiver back. So their offense should be in a little bit better shape. But I also think if Leary's not in there, maybe it's the spark they need to get the offense going. I don't know. But I still think they run a lot more with that new quarterback and probably lean on their defense a little bit more. And then with Syracuse, great story. And I'm glad they're on this board this week. There's some Syracuse fans in the kingdom. Respect to those guys. I'm still going to call it the Carrier Dome because the new name. I can't.
What is the name of it now?
I can't remember.
I thought it was still the Carrier Dome when you said that.
It's a new.
That's like a new brand, I think.
Yeah, it's a new sponsorship. The Carrier sponsorship ran out, so it's the JMA Wireless Dome. Okay, nobody's calling it. So with Syracuse, they haven't played a great defense necessarily either. Right. Not a defense to this level yet. They haven't faced a pass defense that ranks inside the top 45. So, I wonder what they'll be able to do with that offense. 44.5 is still pretty low, right? So it doesn't take a whole lot to get there, but I just think this will be kind of a slow, uglier game. And NC State's comfortable playing that way. And we've seen Syracuse play that way a couple of times too. Think back to that Purdue game when, they looked like they were dead in the water in that game, ended up coming back and winning. But again, another under. I'm not completely on this one yet, but just some early thoughts on that game.
I've got a couple unders as well, and I have an over. Real quick, Nelly, how are you feeling about the under being 51.5 for Penn State, Michigan?
That is my kingdom conviction. I love that under. That is so Michigan is one of two teams in the country to yet to go over this year. They are 5-0-1.
Is Iowa the other?
Penn. I think it's James Madison, actually. I think they play really good, sound defense. Penn State's 4-2 to the under on the year. It's a game that has traditionally gone under in the last 5 seasons. It is James Franklin on the road against a ranked team. 2 really, really, really good defenses against an offense that is still kind of finding its footing. I think the co-offensive situation is kind of become a little bit of an issue in Ann Arbor. But Penn State's offense, I love this under. Let's hope it sticks around where it's at. I got a feeling it's going to head further south, but really good trends to point towards going under in it, and I like it.
I have a feeling it's got all the makings in the world of like a 2017, 2014 kind of game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in my opinion, when I looked at that, I was like, that just feels like an obvious under there. I had another one. Where did it go? It was Auburn and Ole Miss. The over-under on that game, I literally just had it and it disappeared, is hold on, where did it go? Like, I was literally just looking at it. And it was like, why? Why is it that high? I can't find it now. Yeah, I lost it because I'm a bum and don't write things down. Oh, here it is. 55.5. Is Auburn going to score 20 points in this game? And is Ole Miss going to really score that many points to get 55.5? Like, that just feels like a wonky number, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Yeah, especially the second half trend that we continue to see out of Auburn.
I could see that being the case just because Auburn pretty dysfunctional right now. And again, Ole Miss has been a second half team too that likes to sit on the ball as well. Like when they get leads, like you expect in a game like this, they should get up on Auburn if they start better than they did against Vandy. And if they do, you get up a couple scores. Lane's not necessarily trying to run it up. I don't think he hadn't shown that this year. So if they're able to get up early in this game and just rely on their running game and just move on to the next week, I think they'd be happy to. So I don't necessarily hate that one.
This should have been my lock of the week, guys. Next one. This should have been my lock of the week. I'm not even lying to you. The over in the Oklahoma State TCU game should have been my lock of the week. I'm not going to lie to you guys. 68.
That's a lot.
But I feel like both these teams are going to score in the 30s to 40s. I really do. I know you're not too sold. I know you're not too sold on Oklahoma State, and the way that they've played the last, week or so. But I just feel like I feel like the over on this is money here.
I could go under on that one.
Yeah. I mean, like Oklahoma State's defense is, I think, and I know we'll get into this a little bit more, but that feels ripe on that side. I guess on the flip side of it is Oklahoma State scoring at the level necessary. I mean, to hit 70 points in the game. But I'm very excited to watch that game.
Yeah, that was just
it could be one that I look to live bet too. Like if we get a slow start on that one, like it could turn easily into the track meet that TCU Kansas did. Yeah. I mean, all it takes is a couple of touchdowns in that game to get going, and all of a sudden, like the floodgates are open, and we've seen those games be 50-45, a classic Big 12 game that last team that has the ball wins. So yeah, I don't hate it. It's always hard to pull the trigger on a total that high, but these teams both could score in the 40s. There's no question.
Let's just say I have a little conviction about it.
Ooh, there we go.
So there we go.
I like it.
Nelly, I know you had a couple, and I totally threw the groove off. So
no, you're good, buddy. I just had that one on there. So and I'm gonna tail you guys on a couple of those there. So
I'll give you a couple more then. A couple more I'm looking at. San Jose State and Fresno State. First one, a later game. Again, like San Jose State's been statistically really good. Defense has been top 5 in the country. They're not allowing a whole lot, but Fresno State's still just a disaster with Hainer out. When we saw it last week with Boise, their offense is a different animal. Logan Fife in there at quarterback. He just doesn't have it, and they're still missing a wide receiver. I think their safety's still out. Like they're just a completely different team without Hayner in there offensively. Like if you look at the numbers, they were really good the first 4 games. The last 2 games against average competition to very below average competition, they've struggled. UConn game and then Boise, pretty good, decent team. But the only thing that kind of gives me pause is I don't love Cordero, their quarterback at San Jose State necessarily. And then it's like Devontae Adams is coming back and they're making a big deal out of that, there. But again, I just think it's not a very good team. So I kind of like San Jose State minus 7.5. And the other one I'm looking at too, Pac-12, and I would have loved to get Sir Veza's thoughts on this one. Might have to do it in Discord. For the Washington-Arizona game, there's something to me. I think I feel like either Washington's gonna blow out Arizona in this game. Arizona's still playing a little bit better, but I just think Penix can have a huge game. Arizona isn't gonna be able to slow him down. Either that or maybe a team total over potentially for Washington to score a bunch of points, or just an over. I just feel like this game kind of has the making of Washington scoring 45 and just kind of doing whatever they want to on offense. So those are 4 that I'm keeping an eye on right now.
I like it.
Which, by the way, guys,
San Jose State.
That's wild. That's when I didn't. But you're the master of finding those little oddball games,
right.
those real off the radar games.
But a 7.5 on the road,
man. As soon as I hear Logan Fife, I'm fading whoever. I mean, that's just a name right there. That's like that guy is going to go 6 for 27 with 3 interceptions. Logan Fife just doesn't have it.
Exactly.
By the way, guys, I want to update you guys on the Raging Cajuns at Marshall. ULL is up 13-7. I was scrolling my timeline a second ago, and somebody asked if the Marshall update of Notre Dame was the biggest upset of the year so far. So, I just wanted to go live there. So, yeah, that's football. Football is a wild sport, man. It really is. So, where's my video? I don't see it. We're just gonna move on. Picks of the week. I can't see it. We're going to go into our overall season pick records. I don't even know.
I need to check the numbers. Maybe I'm 18 and 23. Not much better, but I'll take every single win I can get out of this.
You might actually be. I'm trying to figure out where you gapped me because we were like, it must have been last week.
Last week, I think week 1. I think week 1, I was like, I think I may have won 4 games or I think you had a bad week 1, right?
Oh no, I didn't win a game week 1, or I think I won 1. So
yeah,
no, that's looking absolutely
back underwater, man. After a 1-5 week, I'm back under sea level with you boys.
Hey, you've been fighting though. I mean, Sir Veza's been killing us all year.
Sir Veza, man.
He's an absolute monster. But we're gonna kick this off. We're starting it off in the big house. Penn State.
Nelly, this is your stage, Nelly.
Yeah, this is your stage. I'm just going to announce it real quick. Penn State's getting 6.5 on the road at Michigan. Nelly, Cowboy, take me away.
There we go. So, really to me in this whole year, and if you want to build, there are a few absolutes in the gambling world that you can build models around. And one of them is Frames Janklin against ranked teams, and him on the road against ranked teams. In his entire coaching career, he has 1 ranked win on the road. That's spanning all levels. That is at every stop he's been at. He is terrible on the road against ranked teams. That's overall against the spread. He's covered 5 times, but straight up, that's how brutal it's been. Really tough spot. I think it's a bad matchup for him from the perspective of the offense just isn't where they want it to be yet. I think this is going to be an ugly rock fight of a game. I think when you look at the difference makers, Penn State has really good, talented young running backs, true freshmen that is playing really well. Offensive line continues to be a problem. Sean Clifford is a fantastic quarterback. I would never speak ill of him. The problem is every year about this time, it's what is holding this man together. He's like Frankenstein's monster. He is getting hit, sacked, hurried at a clip more than almost any other quarterback in the country. So a pass rush, you look last week, we had 7 sacks, 9 hurries on top of that. I just think that the defensive line is starting to emerge. mixing up the coverages. I think it's going to be tough for Penn State to score. It's going to be an ugly game, but I do think Michigan covers.
Yeah, this game probably, like I said earlier, none of these games I love this week. They're just so tough to pick, right? I mean, it's going to happen when you have so many undefeated teams, right? I'm going Penn State, and I don't love the pick, but I want to see what Michigan. I want to see what Michigan had, what Michigan's really made of, right? This is a figured out game for them.
Prove it game,
and Clifford. Well, for what he is, he's been there for a while. He's experienced. He's going to be pretty good in the spot, But I think I still like McNamara a lot. But again, I think it comes down to kind of what y'all pointed out. I think a little bit of an uglier game at times, leaning on defenses here, and this. I don't love the pick, but I feel like Penn State has shown me a little bit more this year, maybe. Than Michigan has. So I don't have any huge analysis on this game necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately I'm landing on Penn State. But if Michigan goes out and wins this game, 31-17, wouldn't surprise me either, right? I think Michigan should cover this number, but I feel like it 6.5, 7, kind of wherever it actually lands.
Yeah.
It wants you, it feels like it wants you to take Michigan too, right? So I don't know. I'm going Penn State. That stat with Franklin and winning on ranked teams on the road, I don't even know if I knew that, but didn't give me a lot of confidence in here saying Penn State after hearing that, but I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Well, he's covered in those situations more time. He just usually loses.
Yeah.
So, that's
right.
I don't understand, Nelly, why you hate James Franklin so much, because it seems like year in and year out, he puts a consistent football program and a consistent football product on the field. I'm still taking Michigan, but I don't understand the Franklin hate.
He's a fraud. See, that's the thing. It's like to the general outside public who and this isn't a slide at you, I'm just saying it.
Right.
The folks that don't religiously follow like Big Ten football.
Right.
He has 2016. Basically, his entire career is staked on two things. One, getting Vanderbilt ranked, which is an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
And two, the 2016 Big Ten championship, which was kind of a fluky season in that Michigan beat that team 49-3. They had that big block field goal against Ohio State, run it back, win that in a whiteout game, cruise to the Big Ten championship. Don't go to the playoff. Ohio State still goes in 2016. So. But if you look at coming into this season, his last 22 games, he was 11-11, starting to get a little bit of a warmer seat. They gave him this huge extension. He just consistently, if you look across the board, his career winning percentage, his winning percentage on the road, which outside of Saban, it's tough to win on the road. There's a lot of stats that back up him not being the level of credit that he always gets.
That's fair. It's just one of those random questions because I like James.
It's personal vendetta. You absolutely are correct in that. Like, it's something that I hold deep in my heart that I want to try and spread the good news is that he's a fraud.
Yeah, it's just one of those things because, like I said, I like the guy. I think he's a decent person. And I think he's done a decent
fantastic
job.
Recruiter.
So that's why I just had to ask you. By the way, Sir Veza is rolling with us as well. He is rolling with Michigan. So it looks like, Spend, you were on the island by yourself this week in Penn State, which means they might actually
we haven't been consensus on one pick before, have we?
I don't think so. No.
Interesting.
As Corso says, not so fast, my friend. NC State traveling to Cuse, getting 3.5 on the road. This is the NC State team that did almost just lose to Florida State. I'm not going to lie to you. This was one of those games where it was like, I feel like it could be a toss-up, but I still went with NC State because I still think they're a much better football team. I think they went outright. So,
man, talk about what Spend said on there. Like, all these games and these lines are really tough to me. Like, and this one feels, I don't know if it's recency bias based on last week with NC State and some of the scuffling that they've done, but I just trust them a little bit more from what I've seen this year. It feels like a sucker bet, them getting that many points on the road, especially the hook. I don't love it, but I trust NC State a little bit more. It's going to make me really anxious if Leary doesn't play. I know Spend talked about the backup QB, being serviceable, but really interesting game here.
Yeah. So kind of going back to it, I'm on NC State too. Like I hate 3.5. I think Shane mentioned earlier 3.5. Just hate that number. But again, like to me, it comes down to NC State's defense. Like I still, out of all the units in this game, like I trust that unit probably out of all of them. But Jack Chambers is the backup. So he came in, we saw him against Florida State. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot in that game. But like I mentioned, he played at Charleston Southern, threw the ball over 900 times at Charleston Southern, 5,700 career passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 29 interceptions. So guys must have been a little bit of a loose cannon. Can't say I saw any of his games at Charleston Southern, but he also ran for over 1,300 yards too. So
wow,
he's a dynamic quarterback, and he brings kind of like it sounds like it's going to be, I'll say a completely different offense, but it sounds like it's going to be difficult maybe for Syracuse to get ready for what it could be, and not really having a lot of tape on him. I think that kind of puts him at a bit of a disadvantage, because it seems like you lose a quarterback like Leary, and all of a sudden, it's quick to be like, okay, this team's already kind of been struggling offensively. You lose this guy, they're just going to drop off. But it just seems like, just by hearing Coach Doran talk about him, that Chambers is a very likable guy. Like he's a guy that people can rally behind, and he's obviously has talent. You don't throw for 5,700 yards and not be a good quarterback. So it just feels like he could come in there and spark this offense. They get, as I mentioned, they get another wide receiver back. They get a running back back. So like some more pieces there. And if he can get out of the pocket and run a little bit more, and maybe it opens up the passing game a little bit more, I don't know. And they could also go out there and score 10 points, and it wouldn't surprise me either. But I just feel like it gives them a little new life. It makes it a little bit tougher for Syracuse to prepare. And again, Syracuse hadn't faced a defense like this yet. So I'm sticking with NC State to find a way to win a lower scoring game up in the, what did I say? I forgot
the JP Wireless or something, JM Wireless.
The JMA Wireless or something, whatever it is called. Carrier Dome. The dome formerly known as the Carrier Dome. Right. I just feel like they go in there and they find a way to win. So all eyes on Jack Chambers trying to go as a dual threat guy up there in New York.
By the way, this is the first game that we have all sided together on.
Whoa!
Oh man!
Yeah, that's why when you said that, I was like, I love that you just said that.
I literally had not seen the picks.
So no, which means probably Syracuse ends up winning and covering.
Rolling.
We'll figure out if this is a good thing or bad thing.
Yeah, no, it's gonna definitely be one of those things. So, yeah, all right, Oklahoma State traveling to TCU. Oklahoma State getting 3.5.
What you think, Doc?
We've talked about it. We've talked about it a couple times. We've talked about, Oklahoma State, TCU. I think TCU rolls here. Honestly, I think this is a double-digit game. I don't think it's a close game in my opinion, but I don't think it's like some wild blowout either. But I think it's just one of those cases where they might win by 10. So I'm taking TCU here.
Spen, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. I said earlier I'm off the Oklahoma State bandwagon, so kind of teasing what would come in this one. But there's only 5 defenses nationally against the pass that are worse than Oklahoma State.
Holy smokes.
Surprisingly, one of them's Tennessee, my friend. So we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But Oklahoma State, give them 10 touchdown passes. They just kind of get gashed through the air. I mean, we've seen it time and time again this year. I mentioned they've gotten outgained 3 of their 6 games this year, but still have found a way to win. Obviously, Spencer Sanders will keep them in every game. The offense is kind of doing its thing, but I just can't get over the fact that defense has done what it's done. And at some point it's going to break down. And it's a perfect storm for that, because TCU comes in, and I talked about last week, TCU's offense is good. I mean, it took them a little bit of time to warm up, but they still lead the country in yards per play. Ahead of Ohio State is 2, ahead of Alabama that's 3, 8.08 yards per play.
That's crazy.
They're going against the defense that loves to give up yards. So, I mean, you just tell me what you think is going to happen here. If Oklahoma State can outscore them, God bless them. They've earned it. But I just think this TCU team is legit, and Duggan's a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
And their offense is humming, and Sonny Dykes will draw something up, and I think they'll get after Oklahoma State. Defense, to me, the game's changed a lot, right? So defense, you don't have to have a great defense to win.
Right.
But you can't have an awful defense, right? So, and that's where Oklahoma State is right now. So I can't trust them. The line's smaller than I thought it might be potentially, because essentially it's a toss up with the line where it is and home field. But to me, I'm going TCU. I think they win this game. Like Doc said, double. I think by 10 or more.
Yeah, I'm on the Horned Frogs too. You know, kind of a couple things. You know, I've watched most of Oklahoma State games this year, and the defense taking a big step back from last year. From Jim Knowles leaving. You know, if you watch the Central Michigan game, which I don't know, there's no reason anyone should have watched that game. They gave up 40 points to that team, and the Chippewas are pedestrian at best offense, but a pretty pass-heavy offense. You know, I think we talked last week, TCU really balanced. They got 4 wide receivers with 12+ catches. This Dugan is a fantastic quarterback. I just think the offensive firepower is there. I think Oklahoma State's due to get exposed a little bit. But we'll see. I think it will be a little bit of a boat race, at least in point scoring. But I just trust Dugan in that offense more. I mean, you mentioned that 8 yards per play. I mean, that's an insane stat from offensive efficiency.
By the way, Sir Veza is actually taking Oklahoma State in this one. Okay. I would love to know why. Like that's one of those ones I'm going to have to ask him, because
he saw him firsthand. He saw him in person. He just got to feel the tape.
That is
They're undefeated.
You're not wrong. And, you know, I love the fact that I was talking all that shit last week, talking about Oklahoma State could be the one, you know, that sneaks in the Big 12 and blah, blah. Shut up, Corey. So, in my opinion, this next one, the game of the week, Bama on the road to Tennessee. Tennessee getting 7.5 points. I'm not even talking. Go ahead. Take it away, Spend.
Well, let's see. I know there's a lot of excited people in Tennessee. You can probably vouch for that. A lot of belief. This is the year. Again, like there's some great memes around this rivalry, right? So Tennessee fans have never sent a text message, an iMessage to a friend to say they beat Alabama. I don't think there was never social media since they never posted a Facebook message or MySpace message saying, hey, we beat Alabama. It's been a long time, and it's been a very lopsided series. But I mean, the big question, look, is Bryce Young, what's his health status? What's he going to do? I think everybody's consensus believing he's going to play. I think he probably would have played last weekend if Alabama felt they had to have him to win that game. And it's night and day with him in there, right? I just think like with him running that offense, it's just and they're starting to have a few weapons kind of emerge, right? I think offensively a little bit more. We're seeing a few more guys step up on the outside. You know, Gibbs, I think we're all kind of seeing what Gibbs mentioned early on, like what Gibbs can be. In Alabama now, like their yards per carry, I think is top 3 in the country, yards per carry. So what Tennessee I don't think it's faced yet is like a team that can really establish a run against them. And maybe this is a game where Alabama doesn't try to get into a shootout necessarily. Maybe they try to control a clock a little bit more and have a couple of 12-play, 13-play drives if they can do that and feel comfortable with that. Just kind of pick apart that defense. Because I said, like the stats, look, Tennessee's defense, they're worse than Oklahoma State, statistically at least, against the pass. It's hard to believe that that's the case, but over 300 yards a game they're giving up through the air. And I don't know what the status of one of their starting safeties is. I think did y'all see he got arrested for assault this week? So
he got suspended for next week. They said, we're going to suspend him for a game after Alabama.
Okay, I didn't see that. Well, that makes perfect sense. That's the way to handle it. It's going to set a good precedent for the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
But you look at what they've done, like Florida. That Florida game is the one game I can't get out of my head, right? Because I think I'd said it after that game, like 450 yards passing to Florida, a team that hadn't moved the ball very well.
Richardson.
Yeah, and like everybody they played this year has thrown the ball pretty well. Now, granted, most teams have been having to play from behind, so you have to throw the ball. So keep that in mind a little bit. But I just think this Alabama offense can pick them apart a little bit. And the defense, while they've, last week was what it was, and this is probably going to be the toughest test. now that, with Ewers being out of the game for a lot of that would probably may have been their toughest test. But this one, it's probably their toughest test. Can the secondary hold up? But I still think this defense is still really, really good. And there's been some mistakes, and maybe we think back to that Texas game, and this game was kind of close too. This defense has shut down teams, and they don't give up a whole lot of yards. And it's going to be really tough for Tennessee to kind of get into a dogfight with the team and kind of get punched in the face early on. We'll see if they respond. I still think that Alabama is still the better team. I don't have a ton of confidence that Alabama's going to go in there and win and cover, but I just think ultimately they are the better team. I think they can exploit that defense a little bit. And I still think both, I'll take Alabama's offense over their offense, and I would take Alabama's defense over their defense as well. And the special teams has been a little bit shaky, but I still think Reichard, when he needs to come up big, will do so. Has shown that. The one thing Alabama has not had very much is kicking game, but he's provided that for him. So I think it's going to be an incredible game, great atmosphere, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm going Alabama. Don't have a ton of confidence, but I just think ultimately they are a slightly better team on both sides of the ball. And you saw the best player on the field, maybe the country, on both sides of the ball, right? Offensively and defensively. And forget the mistakes. Oh, one other thing. Alabama, this has been by far their worst turnover margin year, right? This defense is used to getting on average one turnover a game. It's kind of where it averages out. I think they're at a half turnover a game. I think there will be, and Tennessee on their side, I think Tennessee hasn't thrown an interception yet, right? I believe. I think there will be a little return to the average for both these teams. I think Alabama will do a little bit better turning the ball over. It's been something they've stressed all week. Hey, instead of knocking balls down, let's try to make interceptions. When you get a tackle wrapped up, second guy come in there, try to get the ball. It's been a point of emphasis this week is less forced turnovers. So it hadn't happened yet. It's bound to come back, a little regression, right? For both sides. So that's one other factor. I think who knows if that happens, but statistically the averages say that Bama's going to get a few turnovers at some point. And then Tennessee, who has been spotless with the ball, they're going to give it up a couple times. So is it this game? I don't know, but it feels like it could be one that Alabama kind of starts getting it together a little bit. As long as they don't turn the ball over and make a bunch of mistakes, which, again, we haven't seen yet, I still think they go in and take care of business.
Go ahead, Nelly. I'm about to sneeze.
Well, it's funny you talk about, I don't think it's fair to say weakness on weakness, but I am excited to see Tennessee offense against the Bama defense. The Bama defense has not gotten the credit it's deserved for this year. It's been a really strong unit. Will Anderson is a freak. So I'm very excited to see that kind of, talk about regressing to the mean of turnover. Hooker hasn't really turned the ball over, period, since he's been named starting quarterback. He's only got 3 interceptions overall. So really protect the ball well. This atmosphere is going to be insane. I was talking to Spend earlier about, I've lived down here about 15 years now in Chattanooga, and this is the biggest game since I've lived down here. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. They're excited. It's hard for me to go against Alabama in this spot. I really, really trust their defense. The offense, I think, is enough. They're still running the ball at an extremely elite level. And even with a backup quarterback in, if that's the case, if Bryce plays, then I think it's game over, and I think we might see this line move. But whenever that's definitively announced, I don't know if Saban's going to keep that in his pocket until the music of CBS starts rolling. But I'm excited about it. I like Bama here. Tennessee's D-line it's not elite, but it has gotten to the backup quarterback in every game this year, whether through scoring or injury. So, that's one thing to keep an eye on. If Bryce plays and he's banged up, if the backup's in there and he gets banged up, that's just something to keep an eye on. But the secondary is atrocious. I keep going back to that Florida-Tennessee game where AR-15 had done nothing but throw interceptions and throw for 90 yards a game. And he had his Heisman moment in Knoxville. So I just think the defense isn't good enough to get it done, but this should be a pretty fun game. I would be interested in looking maybe first half Tennessee. I'm sure that number is not going to be big enough to maybe be enticing, but I just think Bama's going to wear him down in the second half.
Let's see here. Mr. Sir Veza also is taking Alabama. I'm going Tennessee.
Here we go.
I'm going Tennessee at the 7.5. Something about this, and I don't know why, I feel like this is going to be a closer game. I know you're saying their secondary is atrocious, their defense is trash. I get it 100%. But you saying, though, especially Bama grinding out some drives and stuff like that really gives me that thought process that as long as Tennessee doesn't get reckless, and Hooker doesn't turn the ball over, this could be one of those games where honestly, it's a one-possession game for most of the game. And that's honestly why I went that route, because Bama hasn't played great all year, in my opinion. They've played well enough to get the job done. And like you're saying, if Young plays, is this kind of where, things start to separate for Bama? Or is this one of those things where it's like, oh, shit, another close, Bama game? So that's honestly why I went Tennessee. I just think that this is a one-score game, in my opinion. So,
I mean, it's interesting to go back. If you go back and look at this series, right, we know it's been pretty lopsided, and this Tennessee team is better than past teams. But and I pointed this out against Arkansas, like Bama has done whatever it's wanted to offensively against Tennessee for a long time. There's been, I'm just looking at it, one game in the last since 2010, so 12, 13 years, one game Bama scored fewer than 34 points. I mean, on average, last year 52, 48 in 2020. 58 in 2018, 45, 49, 45. Like, you just go down the list. It's like, and Alabama's offense can absolutely do this once again against this secondary. So especially if it has to get into a back and forth game and Tennessee scores some and makes Alabama score. So Alabama's comfortable getting into a higher score game if it does get to that point. But this also, I could see 100%. You said first quarter, first half, but this is absolutely a game I could see Alabama coming out. First drive, right down the field, score a touchdown. Tennessee, like, this is the game they take the fans out of it right away. Kind of like that Texas game. Texas bounced back, but like right down the field, hey, you're still playing the top team in the country right now. I know you're excited about this, but you got to step up and respond and see if they do. But like I kind of feel like that's the way it'll come out. Now, may not, but I've seen this script a lot of times that huge game. Everybody's on that side, and Bama's played in these spots so many times under Saban and this atmosphere that it doesn't sway him at all. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's first time this game.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Saban's never lost Tennessee. Like, it's a mind-boggling stat.
It's nuts. Yeah.
It's so are we thinking that maybe the 65.5 is a little bit too high then? If you're thinking it's going to be like a grind them out kind of game, does that 65.5 feel too high then?
Like, I say grind it out, but grind it out with Alabama could still be like you break a play at any given point, right? So like, it's hard to say it's going to be 30 seconds between plays, and just up the middle. It's not going to be any of that, but I could see them trying to run some short passes, just trying to move the chains. The longer they're on the field, the less energy that's in the stadium. Like, a little bit of a slower pace, but also like they can strike at any given time, right? A quick slant and the guy's gone, and all of a sudden the game opens up. So I think I haven't read anything that makes me think that that's the strategy they're definitely going to employ. But if the idea is to keep Bryce upright, keep him healthy, quicker passes, lean on the run game, try to slow it down a little bit, because Tennessee wants to play fast. I just feel like that could be a style they go in and try to use.
Fair enough.
But it could also be a 45 to 30 game, right? So like I still think Alabama gets to 40 unless they're playing sloppy, turning the ball over again, right? They should have had 40 points last week, but turned it over the 4 times. So, and 2 missed field goals. So I think they get to 40 points. Can Tennessee keep up with that? And if they do, then yeah. But again, it only takes one hit on Bryce again, and that's the other part too, is that you bring in Milroe, then all bets are off at that point. Who knows?
Literally. Yeah, no, for sure. All right, I'm going to go use the restroom while y'all are talking about this. Florida State at Death Valley. Yes, I just said it because I know he's not in here. Get 3.5 on the road.
That's awesome.
So I'll be right back, guys. Y'all take it away.
Go for it, Nelly. Let's see. I'm curious what you think about this one.
Man, this is another one that weird number on there. Just to me, from like, I feel like it could be bigger. I like Clemson in the spot. I trust Clemson more. Defensively, I trust him. I know we were talking earlier on Tennessee's win over LSU, and I know that's a whole lot of transitive property to apply that then to Florida State. But what is Florida State? How good are they? This is a tough situation to go into. I don't know. I don't have a super great feel on this one, but I think Clemson's defense is elite. I think Brees is supposed to be back, their defensive end. So in that scenario, I just like them more. 3.5 is a tough number, but I don't know. I don't see how Florida State is going to be able to score enough to win in this game.
Yeah, this line feels way too small, way too small to me. I'm trying to like wrap my head around why it is where it is, because to me it feels like I don't know why everybody. I think Florida State's played well, but I don't know why everybody's as high on them as, or maybe they're slow on Clemson. Maybe that's what it is. But to me, this feels like this thing should be. To me, I feel like it should be like 8.5. Like that's kind of where
pushing up to 10. Somewhere.
Yeah, I feel it should be, because you mentioned Breesy coming back, right? Xavier Thomas, like they're supposed to have the Clemson this year has had some pretty good wins, and they have not had their whole defensive front together yet, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest story about them. And Xavier Thomas came back last week. I think he literally played 6 snaps last week and won ACC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 sacks and like a tackle for a loss and 6 snaps played and won ACC Defensive Player of the Week. He's back, getting more healthy. You get this could be the first week all season they've had everybody together. Okay. I still think DJ is playing really well. He didn't have his best game last week, but I think he's a improved quarterback from where he's been.
Yeah.
I like there's and could be completely wrong on this, but I can't picture any scenario in which Florida State comes in and wins this game. Like I can't figure out why the line's as low as it is. And because I think on top of all that, Florida State could be without their top running back. On top of everything, Trayshawn Ward has been hurt. His status appears based on practice reports is that he won't play this week. So then you take out your best running threat there. Are you really going to put it in the hands of the quarterback to just win this game outright against that defensive front? The secondary maybe isn't their strong suit, but I just feel like there'd be a lot of pressure on him all night. He made a few mistakes last game. If Florida State comes out and wins this one, more power to him. But I cannot see how it happens. I think Clemson asserts its dominance and asserts its talent difference in many different aspects here, and just kind of puts a stranglehold on Clemson, Florida State in this game. And runs with it. The small line makes me nervous, but again, Tallahassee, sure, maybe, but I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Did you pick Nelly?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hey, whoa. Yeah, no. I came in right when you were talking about this game, this line. I don't understand how this was 3.5 either. I don't understand where anybody is thinking that Florida State is 3.5 points near Clemson on any given day, because it's damn sure not Saturday, and it don't matter if it was in Clemson or in Tallahassee. So, in my opinion, it's an easy pick for me. It's Clemson. I think this is another one of those that should be a 2-score game, but hey. Once again, you never know.
Sir Veza at Florida State, I feel like you would.
Yes, which, by the way, I think – did I say Sir Veza had Bama last time? I think so, didn't I? If I didn't, then yeah. But, by the way, we're all for, once again, on the same side of this game.
Jeez Louise.
So, we're all for on Clemson this week. So, there's that. And the nightcap.
Here we go.
USC – traveling to Utah, getting 3.5 points. It's crazy that this over-under is lower. It's actually higher than some games, but lower than Alabama. Tennessee. I don't know. Interesting numbers here. I know Utah's got a great defense. Honestly, in my opinion, I told y'all I'm off the Utah bandwagon, so I'm taking USC in the points here. I just think USC's got a better team. It's just going to be, can USC's defense make the stops? Because I do think Utah does still have a very good offense. It's just, can USC get off the field on defense? And can they put something together on offense? Because they've felt a little sluggish to me, especially starting out the last couple of weeks. Because I've been watching USC pretty close, just because it's nice to have them good again. So, it's going to be one of those interesting things. But, yeah, I got USC in the points. So,
Spen, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird this game came out I think most people would have expected USC to be a favorite in this one, right? I mean, you just think just on paper, but there's a lot of bets coming in on USC, no surprise, but I think most of the money's on Utah. I just think Utah's got a better a pretty good defense, and we'll give this USC team trouble. Like USC's ahead of where where most people thought they would be, and they're still in a really good shape, but I just think they're not quite all the way there yet. And there's a reason why Utah's a favorite in this one, and they're still getting pretty good money backing them. Again, this is another one that I just don't feel great about either way. Like it should be one that it comes down late in the game, could go back and forth. It's, a bad decision here, a bad play call there, or a late fumble or whatever kind of swings it for you. But I'll sit back and love watching this one, and I'll have Utah on the pick here, but I probably will not play this game on Saturday.
Nah.
Yeah, to that point, I went back and forth on this probably 5 or 6 times because USC feels like the more complete team, but this feels like the exact situation that USC comes in and stubs their toes, lay an egg. That Utah has a fantastic defense. I don't feel good about this one. I think if I had to play it cash wise, money on the line, I would take Utah in here, but I'm taking USC. I'm going to see if they can keep the dream rolling. But this is a weird game. This will be a fun one to watch, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So Spend, you and Sir Veza are both on the Utes here.
Utes.
Which means 100% the Utes are going to, cover that 3.5.
Just roll.
It seems like every time Sir Veza and Spend are on the same side, Nelly and we're on the opposites, we get our asses kicked. So
that's right.
The question is, will Sir Veza be watching this game in London at 4 a.m. or whatever time it is? 5 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's the fun question there. I do like that this is the 7 a.m. or the 7 p.m. Fox game, so I don't really have to battle anything there. And honestly, this week it's very, last week it was early heavy in my opinion, with the decent games, and then the middle of the day was kind of slow. And then the evening was okay. This week it's 100% the second window. The afternoon, though, has really got the good games. So it'll be fun to watch this week for sure. Let's slide on over to our locks. This is how we're looking right now. Spend, you are absolutely just
cruising, baby.
It. I honestly should have an asterisk beside my 3 and 3 because honestly, like last week, shouldn't have counted, but whatever. I'm not gonna complain about it anymore after this week. It is what it is. I'm still above 500, and that's a blessing. So, that's what I've got there. But let's go ahead and roll into these locks. Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Man, we're all over the place here.
I didn't know who in the hell to pick this week because my biggest thing with my locks is I want to pick somebody that we're not talking about. And I just didn't really feel great about anything until after I'd sent my picks off. I just think Michigan State really sucks. Wisconsin's not great. Wisconsin's pretty tough too. But I just think Wisconsin should beat Michigan State by 7.5.
Jim Leonard, this is an audition for him. He's got to put some tape out there.
This was my okay, I'm taking this. I feel comfortable in it because I mean, I don't know, man. That was where I went. Like I told y'all, I should have went with the TCU State over, but instead we have Wisconsin. If you don't want to bet it, that's fine. So that's where I'm at with that.
Come on, you got to believe, Doc. You got to believe.
I said the Michigan State's really, really bad. So I think they can cover this. It's just
I actually like that pick. I'm with you. I think Michigan State's defense could give up quite a few yards here. FIU. So give me a little reasoning here. I didn't realize.
Go, baby.
I don't realize that's a lot of points.
Who are they
That's
playing?
a ton of points. Hey, I'm a proud FIU alum. Pause up, baby. We got.
Are you?
Yeah, I got. So they're my boys. If you look, they just dropped Miami Vice Night. Check out the stadium. It is absolutely sick. That's going to give us a little juice. But UTSA, 32 points, road favorites is crazy. I know UTSA is a much better team. He's got him rolling a little bit. You know, we won a game a few weeks ago. Last week, kept it competitive against a terrible UConn team. I'm not saying in any way FIU's a good team. We're not going bowling. We're not winning this game. But 32 points, a ton of points at home. We're starting to get an at-home atmosphere. Quarterback's starting to play pretty well. I just think that's too many points. This is a little bit of trying to show love to my boys down there, but that's a lot of points.
Yeah, I checked out the stadium. It looks pretty sweet. I do like the color scheme. Very nice. But boy, it's tough to back. It's tough to back bad teams. So I'm in a group text. Okay, I got a little confession. So I'm in a group text with some friends, and it's a betting group text basically. And we talk some picks every weekend. But I said 2 days ago, so I'm not gonna bet for bad teams anymore. I'm not going to back any bad teams. Fade bad teams, great strategy. It pays off a lot, but I'm not going to back any bad teams anymore because we were talking about San Diego State last week. We took their team total against Hawaii last week, and then they looked horrific. So I said, look, new rule. We're not backing bad teams. Well, fast forward 48 hours later, doing a little research, and I'm back on a bad team. Okay. Utah State -11. So these Aggies have not been good. Okay. But I got a reason why I'm backing a bad team on the road. First off, they're playing another bad team. They're playing Colorado State. Okay. Colorado State, well documented.
Mama.
It's been a bad team this year. Okay. But still, you're laying 11 points on the road. So a couple things here. Logan Bonner got hurt a couple weeks ago, their quarterback. And I think at the time was more of their offense hasn't been great already. Going to the backup now, it's going to struggle even more. Where Cooper Laga, their backup, has been pretty good and has sparked this offense. They beat Air Force last week. The most yards Air Force has given up all year to Utah State last week. So their offense has actually shown a little bit of life. And he came in and he beat this backup. It beat Oregon State last year, late in their year. I think their bowl game maybe. So the guy is actually a pretty good quarterback. Their offense is moving. There's some confidence in what they can do. They're playing a horrible defense. Colorado State, make no bones about it, is one of the bottom defenses in the country. They're going to love to give up yards, and now you have a guy that can both throw and run a little bit in Laga. Then it's a recipe, right, for scoring some points. A couple other things though, because still backing a bad team, so you got to really have a little bit of faith in that. So a couple of things I'm looking at too. Colorado State last week, they played Nevada. I don't know if you saw that game. Another atrocious football game to watch.
They won though.
17-14. Bad. I think Colorado State was up 14-0. Their quarterback had one completion and 2 interceptions, and they were up 14-0. Anyway, that was like probably their Super Bowl because it was Norvell going against his old team. There was a ton of shit talk. There was some pregame handshake stuff, a lot of drama. To me, that was their game, right? You got to go out and beat Nevada. A lot of the guys that were on Colorado State were guys that Norvell plucked off that roster and left them empty.
Yep.
So they're all pissed off. It was just one of those games where emotions were high, kind of all in on it. So I just feel like it's hard to come back from a game like that. That's what all their attention was towards. And then finally, the one other factor I think that kind of adds to all of this is Colorado State, as bad as their defense has been all year long, they even had a couple more guys hop into the transfer portal this week. One was a wide receiver, but the other one was a defensive back. And the defensive back has actually been pretty productive. 32 tackles, 2 pass deflections. I think he was pretty good last year, 88 tackles last year. The guy is a pretty good player, and now he's headed out in the transfer portal, and they were already thin at defensive back. So you got a bad defense losing one of their starters in the secondary mean, you can do the math, right? So to me, I just don't know how they stop this Utah State team. Like, I think Utah State still, like, they were a great story last year, and I feel like they had a lot of stuff they had to figure out at the beginning of this year, and now they're kind of getting it together. They're a better team. I just feel like this is a game they can go in, and I don't know, trying to think of like a score in my head. Like, to me, it's like they go out and score like 45 points, and I don't think Colorado State can keep up with that at all. So it's 11. I'm laying 11 with a bad team, and I'm going against my rule 48 hours after I made the rule. So
I like it.
Bets are off.
I'm with you.
When I saw this, I was just like, it just makes too much sense, because everybody's kind of writing off Utah State because they have been bad, but they're improved. That Air Force win was impressive last week. Air Force has been choppy, but they're still a good football team. And to go and win that game with Cooper at quarterback, and then this transfer, I'm going Utah State minus the 11.
By the way, guys, Sir Veza, Arkansas money line on the road at BYU. Honestly, that's not a bad pick in my opinion. That's not.
Interesting game.
That is. No, that's a very interesting game. The fact that Arkansas is going to BYU in the middle of the season is very interesting. I don't know. Which BYU team's going to show up? Which Arkansas team's going to show up?
Yeah.
Honestly. I think it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, with both those programs right now. So I think that's a very interesting game there. By the way,
I think for that one too, it's whether or not Jefferson looks like he's going to play this week, so he should be back. But I think Jaron Hall has also been hurt too. He's going to play, but you got two banged up quarterbacks that really make a lot of difference in their team. So this one will be fun to watch, but it's going to be buried between a huge slate of better games. So this would be a fun non-conference game in early September, but in the middle of October, not many people are going to watch.
No, for sure. And I was looking at Arkansas' schedule just because I was bored. And, they play BYU this week. Then they go to Auburn. Then they play Liberty. So, that's gonna be a fun little game. Shout out to Arkansas for having a decent schedule this year. By the way, guys, just want to give you all an update real quick on the college football game. If you bet this game like a sicko and bet Marshall minus 10, you are in your feelings because ULL is up 10 with 2:34 left in the game. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. But yeah, no. So that does it for me. I don't have much else. I can't wait for this weekend. I feel like we're about to have a really, really good weekend of college football.
Yeah, I'm pumped that we'll have all of us back together next week. Nelly should be healthy again. I think Nelly disappeared on the camera, but you'll be back. We'll have Sir Veza back from, as long as his passport holds up, he'll be back in the country again, and we'll have a lot of fun. We'll have a lot to talk about. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but be a lot of reactions off of what happens this weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, there's definitely going to be reactions, whether they're good reactions, bad reactions, overreactions, who knows? But can't wait.
All the above.
Yeah.
Movement Saturday. We got a big weekend. We got a lot of big matchups. I think it's going to tell us a lot. So I'm excited. The wall-to-wall football on Saturday, like Spend always says, hop in the Discord. It's fun in there, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. And by the way, I never put this up earlier, but there are our picks of the week right there.
Go.
Across the board on 2-0.
Yeah, look at that odd orange right there. We're going to see if this pays off or not. So
here we go.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for us. That wraps it up. We'll see y'all same time, same place next week. Peace.
There we go.